Hello friends and welcome back. As the title suggests, I'm going to be sharing with you 5 winter coffee drinks that you can make at home. Now this is a little different than content that I usually share. I don't usually do like recipes per se, but I've been sharing a lot of my at-home coffee recipes that I've been making like over the last year. I tend to share them, a lot of them on Instagram, and I've been getting so many requests to like put them down, write the recipes out. So I thought that I would round up some really great winter coffee drinks that you can make at home. Making coffee drinks at home is great because 1, you don't have to leave the house, which who doesn't want to do that? Like, why put on pants if you don't have to? 2, it saves you so much money. I know after you watch this video, you're going to feel a strong urge to go to the grocery store and pick up ingredients so that you can make your own at-home coffee drinks. And if you're going to the grocery store, I feel the strong desire that I need to tell you about Fetch Rewards. This is an app you've heard me talk about before, and they are cool enough to sponsor today's video. But basically, it's an app that partners with a ton of brands, and when you buy from these brands, you redeem points, and then you can cash in those points for gift cards. It literally takes 10 seconds. You just open up the app, you press the camera icon, you scan your receipt, and then it's going to redeem points for you based on things that you were already buying. And then, like I said, you redeem those points for gift cards at all sorts of places like Walmart, Amazon, Best Buy, Target, pretty much anywhere you already shop. You can then just get like free gift cards just for grocery shopping and buying things that you are already going to buy. And like I mentioned, because Fetch is cool enough to sponsor this video, I have a promo code for you guys that's going to give you your first 4,000 points for free. All you have to do is use my code when you download the app, which is totally free. And then when you scan your first receipt using the app, you'll get an additional 4,000 points for free. But with all that being said, let's jump into these coffee recipes. The first drink that we're making is a gingerbread latte, and you're going to start with half a cup of milk of your choice. Personally, I suggest 2% or whole milk just because it's going to foam better, but you can use whatever you want. Place this into a microwave-safe glass and microwave for 40 seconds to steam. Meanwhile, you're going to add a 1/3 cup of either espresso or very strongly brewed coffee to your cup. Then add 1.5 ounces of gingerbread syrup. Now, you can make your syrup homemade if you prefer. Personally, I just like the convenience of pre-made. When your milk is done warming, you need to froth it, and there's a couple of simple at-home methods you can use for frothing your milk, but I find the French press method to be my favorite. You place the steamed milk into the French press and then plunge the handle to froth the milk. If you don't have a French press, you can also hand whip it with a whisk or use a handheld milk frother, which you can buy on Amazon for a couple of dollars. Next, pour the steamed milk into your coffee, holding back any foamed milk with a spoon. And once all the steamed milk has been added, then you can spoon the remaining foam on top. The foam is lighter, and so it'll sit on top of the entire drink. Then just serve this as is, or to make it a little extra decadent, top it with some whipped cream. I like to make homemade whipped cream, so that's what I'll be using throughout this video, but the bottled stuff works just fine too. Top the entire thing in some ground nutmeg and enjoy. What I love about this recipe is you can easily swap out the gingerbread syrup for a different flavor if you want to do vanilla or pumpkin or something else. It's essentially just a basic latte recipe, and all you have to do is switch out the syrup to get different flavors. The next drink is something I discovered last year, and it's called Christmas coffee. You're going to start by making the base, which is 1 tablespoon of brown sugar with 1 teaspoon of ground cinnamon, a 1/4 teaspoon of ground cloves, and a 1/4 teaspoon of ground cardamom. Then basically for every cup of coffee you make, you're going to add a 1/2 teaspoon of this mixture to the coffee. So you can make your coffee in either a regular coffee pot or a French press. I just don't recommend pour over because it wouldn't have enough time to sit with the spices. But essentially all you do is brew your coffee as usual and then add in a 1/2 teaspoon of this mixture to your ground coffee beans per every cup of coffee you're making. And let me tell you, when this brews, it makes your house smell so cheerful. Personally, I think the smell of fresh coffee makes a house smell amazing. But when you make Christmas coffee, it is like the most merry smell ever. Top it with some whipped cream and sprinkles if you're feeling festive, and honestly, it really tastes just like a cup of Christmas. It's such a delicious concoction, and I also love that this is something you can brew a big pot of, so it's great for family gatherings or to use for Christmas morning. Next, we're going to make maple whipped coffee. So in a bowl or container, you're going to add 2 tablespoons of hot water with 2 tablespoons of instant coffee and 1 tablespoon of white sugar. And then you're going to whip this. Personally, I'm not really sure how the science of whipped coffee works, but eventually instant coffee and water will foam when it's whipped, but it does take some considerable whipping. So while you can do this by hand, I warn you it would take a lot of elbow grease, so a handheld mixer is best. and just put it on the highest speed and let it whip away. Now, most whipped coffee recipes call for 2 tablespoons of sugar, but since we're going to be adding in maple syrup to this recipe, I decreased it to 1 tablespoon. But you can always add a little more sugar if you prefer a sweeter drink, or decrease the sugar a little if you prefer it less sweet. Next, in a glass, you're going to add 1 tablespoon of maple syrup and then add your milk of choice. I'm doing almond milk here. Since this is a cold drink, I find almond milk works really great because we're not worrying about steaming or frothing it. Then stir well to combined and then add in your ice. You want to add the ice after you've stirred, because if your milk is too cold when you add the maple syrup, it's not going to dissolve in the milk. So dissolve the maple syrup into the milk first and then add your ice. Finally, you're going to top with the whipped coffee, and then that's it. Enjoy. Our fourth drink is hands down my favorite drink when I want something super decadent and really wintry treat, and that is a peppermint mocha. You guys, this is so delicious. So in a microwave safe glass, combine 3/4 of a cup milk with 3 tablespoons of sugar and 1 tablespoon of unsweetened cocoa. Then you're just going to place this into the microwave for 45 seconds, stir well, and then microwave another 30 seconds. And then I'm going to use a very fancy chocolate dip cup. This is obviously optional, but it does make the drink like 5 times more decadent because the chocolate rim like melts as you drink it. It's seriously like heaven. So just take some dark chocolate chips and a little bit of coconut oil, and you're gonna microwave it in 20-second intervals, stirring between each until melted. It takes about 1.5 minutes. Dip your glass in the chocolate and even add some festive sprinkles if you want. I'm using these sprinkles from the company called Fancy Sprinkles, by the way. They're literally the coolest sprinkles ever. And then just pop that glass into a fridge or freezer until you're ready to serve. You could even make a handful of them ahead of time. But once your cocoa is ready, you're going to add that to your glass along with 1 ounce of peppermint syrup and 2 to 3 ounces of espresso or a very strongly brewed coffee. Of course, top this with whipped cream, because I mean, if you're gonna have a mocha with a chocolate dip glass, you might as well have whipped cream on top of it. And like I said, this is literally one of my favorite treats. Not only is it so delicious, but the peppermint makes it feel so festive and cheerful. Literally just drinking it makes it feel like Christmas time. Next up, we're making a spiced vanilla Frappuccino. This one is great because you can easily make it coffee free if you prefer, but you're just gonna add 1 cup of milk to a 1/2 cup of vanilla ice cream and then top that with 1 cup of ice. Ironically, my ice machine actually broke the morning I filmed this video, so I only had these big cocktail ice cubes, which I don't recommend because they are hard to blend, but it does the job. Then add in a 1/2 teaspoon of vanilla extract, a 1/4 teaspoon of nutmeg, and a 1/2 teaspoon of ground cinnamon. Then, if desired, this is where you'll add in 2 ounces of strong coffee or an espresso shot and then blend it up. Again, the coffee is totally optional here. It's not really necessary to the flavor of the drink. Last but not least, we are going to, you guessed it, topped it with some whipped cream because YOLO, and then top all of that with some ground nutmeg. And this is basically just like a grown-up milkshake, but the ground spices makes it feel really festive and it adds some warmth to it even though it's a cold drink. It's such a great sort of like milkshake to have in the winter. Last but not least, I decided to throw in a final bonus recipe that I wasn't originally going to add just because I felt like I couldn't not include a cold foam recipe, because that's honestly where this video all started. I started sharing my cold foam recipes over on my Instagram stories and I got so many DMs from you guys, I decided I had to include a cold foam in this video. So I'm gonna share my spiced cinnamon sugar cold foam, which I've been drinking a lot lately. You're gonna start with a base of just iced coffee, and then add in 1 tablespoon of maple syrup and stir well. Then add your ice. Again, don't add the ice until you fully dissolve the maple syrup. Next, you need to make the cold foam, which is just about a 1/4 cup of heavy whipping cream with 1 teaspoon of sugar and about a 1/4 cup of cinnamon. Using a handheld mixer or even just a whisk, you're going to blend this until it starts to thicken. For cold foam, it's important that you don't over whisk. You don't want it to become full whipped cream. You just want it to thicken almost so it's resembling like melted ice cream. Usually I find about 25 seconds on full speed with my mixer to do the trick. Then pour the thickened mixture over the top of your iced coffee and sprinkle with a little cinnamon sugar, and that's it. This is probably the drink that I drink the most. I tend to have a cold foam almost every afternoon. It's just a really great afternoon treat. It gives me a little caffeine fix with a little bit of sugar, and it's honestly super quick to make. All right, my friends, that does it for my at-home winter coffee drink recipes. I hope you enjoyed this. Let me know in the comments down below which of these 5 you are going to try first. But as always, thank you so much for stopping by and watching. I hope you're having a fantastic day, and I will see you all in my next video.